very beginning, Bhagavat Maharaj was a little reluctant for that. He wanted to go back to New York and preach. And Bhubaneswar at that time, that jungle wasn't the most exciting looking place in the world. But in Prabhupada's order, Maharaj stayed. And he did some wonderful things. And he had a lot of association, some dear friendship. And I saw when I traveled with Gour Maharaj in America, Bhagavat Maharaj would come several times to see him, and I saw their camaraderie and intimate friendship. So Maharaj, I'm just really, really happy and grateful that you came to give us your Sangha tonight. You have a lot to share, I know. So I'll go ahead and let you.
Thank you very much for your kind words. Yes, I remember when Srila Gorgonvindamaraj came and visited in America, and I made all these arrangements for him. Unfortunately, I can't find the thing I want, but all right. So I'll just sing Hare Krishna for a little bit. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Gorgonvinda, Swami Maharaj, Gorgonvinda, Swami Maharaj, Gurudev, 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 Gurudev. Kripa Koro Vaishnav Thakur, Kripa Koro Vaishnava Thakur. Jai Srila Gorgonvinda Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai, Jai Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Go Premanande. So I offer my obeisances. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gananjana Salakaya Chaksuran Militan Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Offer my humble obeisances unto the lotus feet of my Shiksha and Diksha Guru, Nityalila Pravishta Om Vishnu Pada Satara Sata Sri Srimad Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And I offer my humble obeisances unto my Shiksha and Sannyas Guru, Nityalila Pravishta Om Vishnu Pada Satara Sata Sri Srimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And I offer my humble obeisances unto the lotus feet of my Shiksha Guru, Nityalila Pravishta Om Vishnu Pad Asatara Sata Sri Srimad Srila Govinda Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. And I offer my humble obeisances unto all the Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis who are present here today. My Dandavat pranams to everyone Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to speak a few words about my beloved God brother and Shiksha Guru, Srila Gorgonvinda Goswami Maharaj. Sorry, I don't have a lot of light in this room. I'm assuming you can see me. It's a little
Yeah.
shadow. Yeah. Okay.
You have a natural effulgence, Maharaj.
That's because you have blessed eyes. I'm not going to talk. I'm going to talk more about some of my personal experiences with him when we lived together in the hut, because other people have probably already covered stuff about his early life and everything. And so my personal experiences with him would be something new.
I don't think I ever heard about your first meeting. If you recall that, that would be interesting.
My first meeting with Gorgonvindamaraj. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, after he had been appointed by Srila Prabhupada to do the translation work of the books into Hindi language, Prabhupada sent him from Vrindavan to come to Bombay, because at that time, that's where the BBT for India was housed, in Bombay. And it was later transferred to Mayapur because there was more rooms there. As the Indian BBT grew, they needed more space, and we didn't have a lot of space in Bombay. So what happened was he arrived. There was no real formal introduction per se. He arrived there, and I was just observing him, and I saw that he would spend all day in the room writing, doing the translation work, and then he spent some time just working like a young brahmachari. And I had no idea how old he was, because he was a Paka Grihastha brahmachari. He looked like a young man. I had no idea that he was nearly 50 at the time when he came. So there he was, washing these huge pots, because we were cooking for the poor people in the area. Juhu has a lot of poor Christians and other people in the area, and we would cook a big kitchery and serve them prasadam every day. And so then the pots had to be cleaned. And he was scrubbing the pots. He was cleaning them. It was amazing how he had total humility, absolutely no compunction about doing whatever service he was asked to do for Guru. And when he wasn't cleaning pots and doing the translation work, he was standing in the temple, which was just a small, overhang, and he would stand on the mandap there in front of the deities and just chant japa. I mean, intense japa. I was watching him and I was thinking, this guy is really chanting. he was chanting all day. Every minute he had, he was chanting his japa, and very intently. And one day I was in the room with Srila Prabhupada, and Gargamuni came in, and Gargamuni said to Srila Prabhupada, I was talking with that boy over in the BBT. Prabhupada said, what boy? And Gargamuni said, that boy, Gour, Gopal. Prabhupada said, boy? He's not a boy. He's old enough to be your father. So then I realized, okay, we should offer some respect to this person, because he's not a young man. I had no idea, because he looked so young. He had preserved his effulgence by being a Paka Grihastha brahmachari. So then when I used to meet with him, I was respectful to him. We didn't really have a relationship at that time. Our first relationship started when Prabhupada sent me to work with him in 1975. We went down. The Nityananda Kanungo's daughter, Chubby Kanungo, donated this land in the jungle. that was on the highway. The highway cut right through the middle of the jungle. And in Bhubaneswar. And so Srila Prabhupada sent Gorgonvindamaraj to take responsibility for developing the property. And he asked for some assistance. So Prabhupada called me to the room and he said, I want you to go and assist him. I said, okay. So I went, and this is when we first got to formally know each other in reality at that particular point in time. And he was always quiet. He was just always chanting and to himself, you know. And I just took responsibility. I had 4 or 5 brahmacharis with me. We had a Sankirtan party. So we went out to do Sankirtan, and Orissa, nobody in 1975 spoke any English in Orissa except
I can imagine. Even today, not many.
Yeah.
Around our house, there's nobody who speaks English.
Yeah. Everyone, you know, nor Hindi, you know, and all I had was some English and Hindi magazines, you know. So like, okay, how do I communicate with you? I couldn't even communicate with anybody. You know, we do kirtan, we were a fascination, and unless somebody who was really educated came by to talk with us, the rest of the people just stared. And we had no way of communicating, and therefore no one was buying any literature, no one was donating any money. There was no way to do. And every day, whatever money I had in the treasury, I'm spending on living in a dharmshala, paying for. We went to Old Town, and we lived in one of these dharmshala. We were sleeping on the stone floors in the dharmshala, and we were eating the Ananta Vasudev Mahaprasad.
Yeah, just on the bank of Bindu Sarovar. It's 2 dharmashalas right next to each other, right next to
right. And that's where we stayed when we first went down there. We stayed in that dharmshala, and we ate you know, the prasad. I let him guide us because I had no idea. I had not been to Orissa. And so I had no idea. And he said, here, you know, we'll stay here, we'll eat here. I said, okay. You know, he basically directed us in those areas. And then he and I got on a rickshaw, and we went out to the land. I was out there and I'm like, what is this place?
Maharaj, at that time, his English was pretty good.
Oh, Maharaj studied English in college.
Yeah.
He was.
I mean, I didn't meet him until much later when he was already speaking, giving classes in English and things.
No. He was an English teacher. He taught the English language in the university. He was fluent in English language. Of course, he had an accent, but you know, I was already used to an Indian accent, so it wasn't hard for me to understand what he was saying at that point. And he also knew the Hindi and Bengali and Sanskrit. And I mean, he was a fluent linguist. Sanskrit was his minor in school when he studied English. His minor was Sanskrit. So, you know, the two of us went out there. I'm looking at this place, and there's, you know, like wild boars and snakes. And you know, oh my God, you know, we're going to build a temple here. Who's going to come here to this place? So I couldn't understand what was going on. And then on top of that, we were becoming financially impoverished. So what had happened is I had arranged 2 cars. This was during the middle of the festival season. Everybody was up in Mayapur, and Prabhupada wanted all the devotees from Mayapur to go down to Hyderabad for a big festival where he was going to install the deities and everything in Hyderabad. So Gargamuni asked me to arrange train cars, 2 train cars on the train just for the devotees. You can imagine what this was like, you know. So I get these big books, you know, Krishna books and Bhagavad Gita and everything, and I go up to the top brass in the train, in the railroad station, and I say, we need help here. And here's the books. These are for you. Please arrange the 2 cars. So the guy said, okay. So they arranged it. There's no way we could have arranged it otherwise. You don't go to the guy at the booth. You know, you have to go up to the top echelon. So they arranged 2 complete cars for all the devotees to travel from Calcutta to Hyderabad. And, you know, you can imagine what it was like being in a train car with only devotees, you know, just 2 train cars just filled with devotees. Nobody else was in the train cars but the devotees. So it was a lot of fun. And so that was our way out. I said to him, look, we have no money. I can't feed anybody tomorrow. I can't pay the Dharmshala. No one's making any donations. We are now at ground zero. And the only way out of here is to get on that train and go to Hyderabad. So he said, well, I'm not going. Prabhupada sent me here and I'm not going. So I was reluctant to leave him behind. And so he said, well, you're a brahmachari. You can't be alone. You have to come with us. You know, and I pulled my trump card on him because at that point, he had only been a devotee for about 5 or 6 months. And I had already been a devotee for 5 years. So technically, I was the senior devotee. So I just used my, seniority to encourage him to try and do what was necessary to be done, or what I thought was necessary. And of course, when we got there, we go to see Srila Prabhupada the next morning, and we're sitting there, and Prabhupada said, so why are you here? So I explained to him, I had no more money. We had no money to pay the Dharmshala bill. We had no money to feed the devotees. Nobody spoke English. Nobody spoke Hindi. I didn't have any Orissan literature. I couldn't communicate with anyone. And basically, Srila Prabhupada looked at me and shook his head like, I gave you an opportunity to grow spiritually. Now looking back on that situation, I see, this was your moment. I gave you your moment. You could have done something wonderful here. And instead you ran away. So what can I do? I mean, he didn't say those words, but that was what I had understood after reflection on the situation. And then that's when Srila Gorgonvindamaraj asked if he could take sannyas. So, this was a very interesting situation because Prabhupada had already told him 5 months earlier in Vrindavan, 6 months earlier in Vrindavan, he said, I will give you sannyas and I will send you to Orissa to make your own men. So sending him to Orissa was already done. Now it's just a matter of giving him sannyas. And when he asked this question, all the big shot GBCs and everybody are in the room, and Srila Prabhupada doesn't want to get into a shouting match with everyone. So he says, you know what it means to take sannyas? And so then he explains, and a little bit more elaborately than I'm going to do it, I'm just going to touch on the 3 points. One was no sex desire. The second one was that you never feel alone. And the third one is that you know that Krishna is with you. You have no fear and you never feel alone, and that you know that Krishna is always with you. These are the 3 things. So then Prabhupada said to him, do you understand? He said, yes. He said, okay. And then Prabhupada's breakfast came in the room, and that was it. We all got up and left. I went in to talk with the secretaries and the GBCs, and they all said, oh, Prabhupada didn't say yes, he didn't say no, you just told him what it meant. And, there was, Prabhupada had done exactly what he wanted to do. He put everybody in Yoga Maya, he obfuscated what his intentions were. And so then when we went up to Vrindavan, he made the danda and the cloth and everything, and he had it there. Nobody knew we all knew that Tripurari Maharaj was taking sannyas, but we had no idea that he was. And then there was the danda and the cloth, and Prabhupada gave it to him. When Prabhupada, he told me personally, Gorgonvinda, that when Prabhupada gave him the danda, Prabhupada said to him, you have understood. In other words, it was between them. They had a communication as 2 great pure devotees in the room that completely went over our heads, our neophyte, mundane heads. He just, and they communicated, and they knew what they were talking about. And he took sannyas. And they later, of course, the GBC and everybody went in and started shouting. And Prabhupada said, look, he's a pure devotee from birth, and you're the new devotees. So just shut up and go away. Basically, just shut them down. And so Srila Gorgonvindamaraj, then later on, we were in Allahabad, and that's when he asked Prabhupada to come to Bhubaneswara, and Prabhupada said he would go. And I had been working in Orissa with the library party, selling books to the schools and colleges. And I was making relationships with important industrialists. And also I made a friendship with the Speaker of the House of Congress for the state of Orissa, and some other people like that. So I was making important relationships with different people. At one point, I also made relationship with that person who came to the Nityananda. He was the chief minister for a while. Can't remember his name right now.
Nityananda Kanungo?
Huh?
Nityananda Kanungo?
No, Nityananda Kanungo, he goes way back. Nityananda Kanungo was the Secretary of Defense, or the Assistant Secretary of Defense during the time of Nehru. And he spoke Russian. So when Khrushchev came, he was the one who escorted Khrushchev around India because he could speak to him in Russian. And Nityananda Kanungo was a very big personality. He was not just Janaki Bala Patnaik was the one I made. Yeah, and he ended up printing some of our books in Orient. He had a printing press when he was out of politics.
I came across a comment from him where he was speaking about how the Western devotees should be allowed inside the Jagannath Mandir.
Yes, he wanted that, and so did Gangadhar Mahapatra, who was the Minister of Tourism at the time. They wanted us to come and spend money there. That's basically what they wanted. At any rate, so what happened was they asked me also that you please go to Orissa when Prabhupada goes there. So I came about 2 days after Prabhupada had arrived. And Srila Prabhupada, Gorgonvindamaraj made the mud huts. There was one long mud hut with 2 rooms in it. One was Prabhupada's and the other was Gorgonvindamaraj and the servants. And the toilet was outside the room. There was a toilet that was, a sitting toilet that was covered by a bamboo wall, one of these thin bamboo sheet walls that they make. And right next to it was a squatting toilet for the devotees. And so all the devotees squatted, in the one toilet, and Prabhupada sat on the other toilet. And then there was a shower that was covered by this bamboo wall, and you took a shower out there. So Prabhupada was just, out in the wild with us. And Srila Gorgonvindamaraj, that was all he could afford to arrange at the time, so he did it. Then what happened was, that was the period of time when Srila Gorgonvindamaraj was going into the room with Srila Prabhupada alone. Prabhupada would send everybody else out of the room, and he would speak with Gorgonvindamaraj alone. And at that point, I remember one day going to the servants' room to talk with the servants about something. And they said that Prabhupada's busy with Srila Gorgonvindamaraj right now. And then the door opened and he came out of the room. And he was literally like the sun coming out. I mean, he was just effulgent. And so I could understand something special happened. It was later on that he revealed to me that that's when Prabhupada had shown him his swarup, and Prabhupada showed what his own swarup was. And that's why when later on, when these 2 devotees had come to go to Rath Yatra. They stayed in Bhubaneswar with us for a few days. This was about 7 months after Prabhupada left, in July of 1978. And when they were there, they said that, you know, people are saying in Vrindavan that because Prabhupada left during the writing of the Brahma taking the Cowherd Boys, that Prabhupada's mood is Cowherd Boy. And then the other devotee said, yeah, and they're also saying because he put Krishna Balaram in the center that actually he's a Cowherd Boy. So I said, well, you know, I remember Brahmananda telling me years ago that Prabhupada was asked this question, are you a Cowherd Boy? And he said, I don't know what I am, out of his infinite humility. He said, but I like Cowherd Boys. So we started concluding, the three of us, that Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada was Cowherd Boy. Gorgonvindamaraj was looking at us and said, what? What are you saying? Prabhupada is a Cowherd Boy? No. He got up, he walked across, I mean, it was such a dramatic effect. He said that, and then he got up from his seat, he walked across the room, he drank a glass of water, and then he stood up and he looked at us in the eye with such intensity. And he said, Prabhupada is not a Cowherd Boy. Prabhupada is a gopi. And his eyes, you know, when his eyes would come out like that, you know, and I went, I thought to myself, wow. I think he really knows that Prabhupada is a gopi. So this was a very powerful experience that I had with him. And, you know, I spent a lot of time in that mud hut with him. I observed his behavior right from the beginning. Srila Prabhupada, you know, had me stay there. As you said, I did try to escape that service, but later on, I thanked Prabhupada every day for the opportunity to be in the association of such an exalted personality. And I observed his behavior, you know, from early in the morning when he'd get up and chant his rounds for so long, and then he would read all these prayers, and then after doing all the prayers, then he would do translation work and editing, and he'd write in his diary, and he had, you know, like a 4 or 5 hour bhajan program that he was performing every morning. It was very intense. And after he did all of that, then only would he eat. So this was his vow. First, I serve my guru, and I get all my service to my guru accomplished, and then I'm allowed, I'm permitted to take care of myself, to eat prasadam, to drink water, to do different things. Before that, he wouldn't do it. He wouldn't touch anything. So in other words, guru first, me second. You know, he had that mentality. And it was amazing watching him, you know, do this on a daily basis. And I was very regulated under his guidance and in his service. Of course, I was young at the time. I was only 26, 27. But I was able to you know, try to follow in all this. I used to chant my japa and everything with him. We would chant together sometimes for 2 hours, you know, just sitting in the room together, meditating with eyes closed. Very intense. And those were some of the most powerful spiritual experiences I had in my life. And Srila Gorgonvindamaraj was, you know, very fixed and surrendered that Krishna will maintain me, Krishna will take care of me. I remember going to Bombay for some business and coming back to BBT business and stuff. And I come back, and when I got back, he was lying on the floor, ill. And I said, "What happened? Why are you ill?" And he said, "Well, the Pujari went away, and I was bathing Gour and I kept them naked and cold for too long. So I've gotten a cold now because I committed offense to them." And I said, "Well, let me take you to the doctor." He said, "No, no, no. No doctor, no medicine, only Harinam." And so he laid there for like 2 days, chanting japa, just chanting and chanting and chanting. And then after chanting like that, after 2 days, his fever went, everything went, it was all gone. He got up and he said, "Gour have forgiven me now." And then he took a shower, put on clean clothes, and just went right back to the schedule. So that was his dedication. That was his firm belief, that I'm under the protection of Krishna. I will follow Krishna. I will serve Krishna. I don't need any medicine. I don't need any doctor. I don't need anything. I need only Krishna. Very, very dedicated to this Goptrita Varna, that I am under the shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. And there's so many stories I could tell you about the publishing of the books. Of course, back in those days, we had block printing, where you had to put the little tiny, each letter was in a little square block that went into a larger block that made the page. And you would have to do 4 blocks like that and then make an imprint. So he was translating Prabhupada's books on some cheap 10 rupee, 5 rupee or 2 rupee writing book that a kid used at school. He was translating on one of those, cheap little books.
He used those, Maharaj, up until the very end.
Yeah. And so he would give me the book, and I would take it. I took it to Janaki Patnaik, and they would, make up the plates, and then they would make an imprint, and then they'd give me the imprint, and then I'd go back. We're talking about BC here, before computers. It's like, and I would go back with this page, and he would look at everything and he would edit it all, and then I would bring it back to them, and then they would redo it, and then they'd make another page, and I'd bring it back to him, and then he'd sign off on it, and then I'm going back and forth to the printer with all this work, and that's only the half of it. Getting the paper was a huge thing. You had to fill out 30 forms. You could only get paper from the government, and then the government gave us. The only reason I got the paper from the government was going upstairs to the big shots again and giving books, and they came down and told all the people on the 30 different tables to just sign off on this paperwork so that we could do it. And then the paper would come, and I had to find a place to house the paper. I mean, it was a huge yugya. The cement, that building is standing on the foundation. I collected all this money in the West, and then I applied for the cement to build the foundation for the temple. And it was all by his encouragement. He was always encouraging me. All right, Prabhupada wants the temple built, get the cement. And I had to go through this whole 30-page form thing, and then I got the cement, and we poured it all. Chaitanya Simha arranged for the pouring of the cement and the foundation. So that building is on the foundation of the cement that I procured in 1979 from Indira Gandhi's government, or whoever's government it was at the time. Yeah. So, there was so much. We had a very intimate and loving relationship. I remember you're talking about when he came, that time you came with him to Alachua, Florida. I rented him a car. I rented him a house. I did everything to encourage him. And before that, when he first came on his first trip to New York, I went to him. I received him at the airport, and I received him at the temple. And when he saw me at the temple, he said, "Oh, I'm so happy to see you." He said, "Seeing you, now I know I'll be all right. This is my first trip to America, and seeing you, now I know I'll be all right," because I was there, because he knew me.
Bhagavat Maharaj, just hold on one second. I want to show something. This is a photograph of yourself receiving Guru Maharaj, I think in your home at that time, your Purva.
Yes, yes. And that's Nishringa. Yeah.
Yeah, little Nrsinga bathing Guru Maharaj's feet. I have a few pictures I found from that time. I'm sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
Please email them to me.
Okay.
So I can get them. Because I've lost the originals. So what happened was, I said, "Maharaj, when I was with you in Bhubaneswar, I asked you so many times to come to America to preach. Why have you come?" So I was leaning over the bed, and he grabbed my arms and he pulled me down. He said, "Prabhupada came to me and told me that all of you are confused and you don't understand. And he told me, go to the West and preach to my disciples because they're all confused. So I came here because of Prabhupada's order. So please help me." So then I did everything I could to help him in New York at the time. He was very, very dedicated to Srila Prabhupada. At that time, of course, there was all this confusion with the whatever, all the zonal gurus and all the other stuff that was going on. And he said that Prabhupada sent him to educate everybody on what was the right direction to go in. And, I'm looking in his eyes, and you could just see, this was not, he wasn't on stage, announcing his realizations. This was a private talk between old friends. And you definitely got the sense that this is what he was saying was absolute truth, that he would never lie like that to me. He would never say something like that to me if he didn't actually experience it. And so it was a very powerful experience, having his association. There were many things that I saw, of course, when he went into Bhav, the experience of him going into Bhav and Mayapur. I could spend another half an hour talking about that. It's like, it just was so immense and intense experience of him, after seeing him with Prabhupada alone in his room in Bhubaneswar just 2 years earlier, and seeing the intensity of their relationship back then and the effulgence that was coming off his body at that time. And then seeing him in the room, shouting and calling out, "Nityananda, Gauranga, Lord Vishnu, this one's coming, that one's coming." He was just, and then, after displaying several ecstatic symptoms, he just fell in a heap on the ground and became unconscious, catatonic. And I took him to that astrologer who said that Prabhupada had a face that that he could build a house that the whole world could live in. So I took him to that astrologer, and the astrologer said, "There's nothing wrong with him. He's in Bhav. Just after a few days he'll come out." So I thought, no one's going to believe this. No one's going to believe that the astrologer said that Gorgonvindamaraj that he is in ecstasy. I stopped at Bhakti Daitya Madhav Maharaj's temple on the way back from the astrologer's house, on the way back to Mayapur, and there was a homeopathic doctor there who was very famous, and he came out and examined him, and he said, I can't tell what's the situation. And then I brought in Srila Prabhupada. When we got back to Mayapur, I brought in Srila Prabhupada's Ayurvedic doctor who felt his pulses and everything. The one that had treated Prabhupada, the Ramanuja Ayurvedic doctor that treated Prabhupada in Vrindavan. So then what happened was I was waiting to see what his pronouncement was, and he told Sarvabhavana that he had a nervous breakdown, is a nervous condition. So then Sarvabhavana started arguing with him, and I knew enough Hindi to understand basically what the argument was about. The two of them were saying, the doctor was saying it's a nervous breakdown. No, it's not a nervous breakdown, it's Bob. No, they were going back and forth. And then finally, Sarvabhavana said to him, is it possible that his nervous system collapsed due to the ecstasies? So that took the Ayurvedic doctor, it took him back a minute. And he thought about it a second, and then he said, yeah, that's possible. Later, I took Gorgonvindamaraj to my own personal Ayurvedic doctor in Calcutta, who shared his time between Bhubaneswar and Calcutta. And this guy was a mystic. He was a tantric, and he said unequivocally that his nervous collapse was due to bhav, due to ecstasy, when he felt his pulses. So I'm standing, after this conversation with the Ayurvedic doctor in Mayapur, I'm standing on the long building, on the balcony, and I'm looking at Prabhupada's room and I'm praying. I said, can you please send someone, Srila Prabhupada, who can confirm what Srila Gorgonvindamaraj's condition is? Can you just send someone who unequivocally can tell us what's going on? And while I was praying, I heard this huge shouting at the gate of the Mayapur temple. And I turned and his voice going, Jai, Jai, Jai. And this little figure is popping up and down. It was Krishnadas Babaji. Everyone was trying to touch his feet, and he didn't want anyone to touch his feet. And he would literally jump from the ground 6 feet in the air to get away from everybody. I mean, he was amazing. So he comes down the road, and I go up to him, and in my broken Hindi, I start explaining to him what's going on. I didn't know at the time that he was already fluent in English. So when I was saying things in English and Hindi, he understood everything that I was saying. So he came up to the room. On the way up, we met with Bhakti Charu and Sarvabhavana, and the three of us came up with him to the room. And he examined Gorgonvindamaraj. I mean, it was like right out of Chaitanya Charitamrita, He felt his pulses, he put his hand on his head, then he took his uttari and he took the thread out, he put it under Gorgonvindamaraj's nose and checked his breathing. And when he finished doing all of this, he stood up and he said, Bhava, 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 Bhava. He said, Bhava. And then, I asked him, there's no vyadi, no disease? He said, no. And then they were trying to communicate with Gorgonvindamaraj, Bhakti Charu and Sarvabhavana. And Krishnadas Babaji told him, stop. He's in bhav. His prema is ripening. You should just leave him alone. Just leave him alone. And so that's what happened. That was, and then after a few days, he started coming out of it, and you could tell that he had been somewhere else. He was on the transcendental plane while he was in that catatonic state, because he came back, he was looking at his body. He said, what is this? What is this? He said, that's your body, Maharaj. My body? Why do I have this? What is this? He was looking like this, and he kept touching it. What is this? It's your hand. Why do I have this hand? He was like disassociated from the material plane during his period of being in a catatonic state. But he would never admit it. On the drive down to Orissa because we owned a vehicle, a Sankirtan vehicle. I drove him up to Mayapur. So we were driving down, and on the drive down, I said to him, you know, everyone is saying that you were involved. No, I was sick. I was never involved. Who said this thing I was involved? I said, Maharaj. I said, I brought Krishnadas Babaji to see you. He said, Krishnadas Babaji came? Krishnadas Babaji was in my room? I said, yes. He examined you and he said that you were involved. No, he's made a mistake. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Like this, he kept denying it. He was not going to admit that he was, you know, he had been in ecstasy. So I said, so I thought I could finagle him into admitting it by challenging him because he hated to go to the doctor. So I said, well, if you're really sick, I'm going to take you to my Ayurvedic doctor and you're going to have to take the medicine. He looked at me and he growled. Okay, I'll go to the doctor. So I took him to the doctor. And that's when, you know, this doctor was a tantric psychic guy. He was amazing. I tell you so many stories about him. But anyway, he confirmed that Gorgonvindamaraj was involved. And then after that, we brought him back. He took the medicine. He did everything that the doctor said. But, you know, it was a whole different experience with him after that. It was pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. He was.
Marge, I'm going to get in trouble. I'm not so much worried about you. But
I know. There's other. I see KK Swami.
Yeah, but I'm not worried about you. I'm worried about everybody else. They're going to curse me if I stop you.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
you
got to stop me because I'll go on for 3 hours.
No, well, you'll go on for three months. You have a lot to say, I know. Raghava's here also. Nice to see you.
Hi, Raghava Pandit Prabhuji. Anyway, thank you very much for the opportunity to glorify Srila Gorgonvindamaraj and to tell some stories.
Krishna Chaitra Maharaj, we're ready to receive you. Can I have just a minute? I want to show a couple old photos
Please.
that I think Bhagavat Maharaj will like. I think the devotees will appreciate, and maybe Bhagavat Maharaj can comment on them. Let me see here. Okay, just takes me a second. This first one, I think this is the BBT library party in 1978.
Yeah. Well, on the far left is Dundee Maharaj, who was Vaishnavadas. Then that's looks like a Nutama there. Then Srila Gorgonvindamaraj. Then Lagudi. Then, yeah, he's standing next to Prabhupada with his arm up in the air.
Yeah.
And then he was living there with us. And then Shruti. Shruti was on the BBC.
Okay, yeah. Let me see. I've got another old picture.
That's the stone. That's the Prabhupada installed that foundation stone there. On Nityananda Trayodasi in 1977, January.
This picture I'm about to show, there's no Western devotees in this, but it looks like a really old picture, probably before Guru Maharaj started giving initiations. Dikpati, I think, is here, isn't it?
Yeah, that's Dikpati. He lived in the village across the Cowherd village across the street. It's possible that up on the top on the right-hand side, that could be a young Vaishnava Das. I don't know. It looks a little bit like it.
So Dikpati, he took first initiation from Prabhupada when Prabhupada came to Bhubaneswar.
Yeah, when Prabhupada came, a bunch of them asked, you know, the village people asked if they could take initiation. And Srila Prabhupada said, yes, I'll give you all Harinam. So then the GBC came in and started asking Prabhupada, how can you give these people Harinam? They haven't lived in the temple 6 months. Prabhupada said, they're not like you. They know what it means to accept a guru. They're not like you. When they accept a guru, they'll follow the rules. Not like you boys. And I have to train you first.
Here's another one. This is the only other one that I found with yourself and Guru Maharaj, and this is a picture I got from you.
This
You
was
explained
taken
this.
in 1979 by
Uh-huh.
Jai Garanga.
Uh-huh.
And he came to visit with his wife, who's on the far right side, standing in the back. That's Moksha Lakshmi. Yeah.
Not Lakshmi Rupa.
Moksha Lakshmi.
I'm
Lakshmi
just I'm
Rupa,
just
yeah.
teasing
No,
you, boys. I
don't get
saw
me
the
started.
exchange.
Okay, so then on the far left, the boy, the one standing there, yeah, right there with the bead bag, that's Shashtivara. He was from Washington and New York.
Really?
Excellent younger player.
So
The
he's from
next
India.
boy,
He's an Indian boy,
huh?
but he was in America.
He was, what's that?
He's an Indian boy. Looks like or was he black bodied or something?
No, he's black body,
Acha, acha.
African American.
Uh-huh.
The next the fellow, I don't know. I don't remember him. I mean, I remember, no, standing, the one standing.
Okay.
I don't remember him. Then that's Dundee Maharaj after that. Yeah, this was Braja Kishore after that. Then that's Chaitanya Sima and his wife and their daughter.
Rachi Tambar, right?
Rachi Tambara and Jaya Radhika, and then Moksha Lakshmi.
Uh-huh.
And
Jai
myself,
Radhika's a little girl.
yeah, Jaya Radhika, yeah. And then myself and Srila Gorgonvindamaraj are in the middle. And then on the bottom is, I think his name is Vaninath. He used to be my assistant, and he's the present regional secretary for ISKCON in Orissa. He's the one who got that land in Puri straightened out so that they can build the temple in Puri. Very competent administrator. The next boy, I don't remember what his name is. He was living there with us. Then the boy after that is someone who used to come and visit all the time. He lived nearby, and finally his mother stopped him from coming because he said he just wanted to live there and be about. And then the next one, this is Abai. This is Gorgonvindamaraj's son. And there's the whole story about when he came and he didn't, Gorgonvindamaraj wanted to throw him out. He said he just wants to be with his father. I'm not his father anymore. I'm a sannyasi. He has to go away. So he collapsed at the door crying. So I said to him, let him stay. And he said, well, who's going to take care of him? I said, I'll take care of him. He said, okay, you're his father now. So I took care of him. I got him dressed, and I made sure that he was in. After a few months of seeing that he was doing japa every day and going to the program, then Gorgonvindamaraj let up on him a little bit, communicated with him. And then this last boy is a Bengali brahmachari that Jai Pataka sent down.
Okay.
And so that's the group.
Let me go. That's the only other. Well, I've got a few other old group pictures, but mostly with Indian. Well, here's one right here you'll like to see, I think. This, I'm not sure the date, just I'm pretty sure it's before 1981. And this is Guru Maharaj. I don't know if this is in a village or if this was at the property here in Bhubaneswar. Can you recognize it, Maharaj?
Yeah, this is the property in Bhubaneswar.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Things are pretty.
That's the door. the straight in the center of the picture. That's the door to the temple room. It was a temple room right there. That was with Gour Nitai, the Gour Nitai that was on the bullock carts.
It's a little bigger today.
Yeah. So that's.
I want to show you two other pictures, one of which I know you've seen, but I think some of the other devotees haven't, and you might have a comment on it. Let's see. Well, first of all, these are some photos. Let me go up here that I found on some of Prabhupada videos, and this would have been Guru Maharaj on the day he took sannyas. And as you mentioned, he was about 50 years old in this picture.
Yeah,
quite young.
Yeah, I mean, he looks like he's, 25, 30. I mean, his skin was immaculate.
Yeah. And one last picture I'll show real quick. Thank you, Krishna Chaitra Maharaj. I'm sorry, I'm feeling a little guilty here. This is an old painting, famous picture, which I had some graphics artists touch up a little bit. And this is shortly after he took sannyas. Now this picture, this is in
Yeah,
Bhubaneswar.
I was still there when this picture was taken. I arranged for a photographer to come
Uh-huh.
and take a picture of him because I wanted to have like an official portrait, an
Yeah,
official portrait.
this is a real classic photo. Everybody loves this. So you're the one who organized this.
Yeah, yeah,
Thank you, Maharaj.
yeah.
That's great. Was it? Do you remember if it was black and white or color?
No, it was black and white. It was black and white.
Okay. All right. So I better stop there with the
Please
pictures.
forgive me, Krishna Kshetra Maharaj, for taking up so much time. I hope I didn't commit any offense. Hare Krishna. Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. I really appreciate it. We're waiting
Glories
for
to
you to come and
Prabhupada.
visit. Waiting for you to come and visit us here in Jagannath Puri.
Yeah, well,
Dr.
that's
Rupa
not
was
going to
here.
happen too soon. I mean, it's not that I don't want to come. You know the circumstances of what I'm
Yeah,
talking.
the whole virus thing. They have a saying here in Orissa, in Odia language, they say Bhagavananka Icha, whatever God desires. So I hope he
Krishna
can.
Isha. He always used to say Krishna Isha. Krishna Isha.
Maybe I should read a couple quick comments here. Natalia's commented that I would like to share that I had not got very strong faith from the lecture. She's a Russian-speaking devotee in Estonia. The books of His Holiness Gorgonvindamaraj, she was one of those preachers whom I listened just as I met devotees and could not stop myself from listening to him. He gave me faith that if I cry and pray to Krishna, he will reveal his pure devotees. And I really have met many pure devotees Krishna sent to me, so many lucky meetings and circumstances. And now I'm so happy to hear stories from those who associated with Gorgonvindamaraj personally. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Onkar Prabhu was commenting, I think Madhavananda has to expand when good fortune rises book. Yeah, actually, that's our plan. I've been collecting a lot of photos and interviews also with local devotees and some of Guru Maharaj's students in school and so many different things. So, okay.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you
Thank you,
so much for
everyone.
being with us, Maharaj. I hope we get to see you again sometime soon.
Yeah,
As
yeah.
Raghava said the other day, we'll have to come and see you.
Hey, Raghava. Dandavats. Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Srila Gurudev. Srila Gorgonvindamaraj Swami Maharaj Ki Jai.
Thank you very much, Bhagavad Maharaj. And I want to welcome also now His Holiness Krishna Chaitra Maharaj. He's a wonderful scholar and a very deep person and someone who treats me very kindly like a friend. Somebody I can have discussions with for hours and hours and hours about very deep thoughts. And someone that I think your character is something that Guru Maharaj would be very happy. We had Giriraj Maharaj with us this morning, and I was just thinking about his nature. He's just like a child. He's so simple and sweet. And Guru Maharaj really, really appreciated that a lot. And I see something like that in yourself also, Maharaj, too. So I want to thank you very much for taking part tonight. And to those who don't know, Krishna Chaitra Maharaj is also a PhD scholar connected with Oxford University.
Vishnu.
And has printed many different books and made some very wonderful scholarly videos about the Bhagavatam and things. And he's a great advisor and well-wisher for our project here in Puri. We're calling Gour, the Gaudiya Odia Research Association. So thank you very much for coming tonight, Maharaj. And after Maharaj speaks, we can have time for reflections and things. And then I think we may have some time. And Jayapataka Maharaj will be speaking later on. I think Maharaj is online right now even. So as long as you want, Maharaj, I think Jayapataka Maharaj will speak just when you finish then.
Okay, Hare Krishna. Well, thank you, Madhavananda Prabhu, for this opportunity I have to say, I think I have to correct your introduction. Giriraj Maharaj.
I didn't give all the qualifications, all the
He's the
academic.
exalted Vaishnava, and I'm the complicated wannabe scholar. So, and aside from that, we just heard from Bhagavat Maharaj, and I think in relation to Srila Gorgonvindamaraj, I'm kind of at the other end of the spectrum, having had only very minimal association with him. Having said that, I do feel always inspired by him. And I want to say, I always feel inspired by you, Madhavananda Prabhu, as a representative of your Guru Maharaj. I think, you're someone that he would certainly be proud of. And because I don't have, stories from personal association with him, I spoke with him perhaps a couple of times. I interviewed him once about Archana, but what I wanted to do is reflect on a very short section in your book, which you compiled, When Good Fortune Arises. There's this section within the chapter called Prabhupada's Society, called Three Things. And it says, this is from a discussion in New York City in July 1994.
And there's no name there who it was discussed with. It was discussed with me privately.
Okay.
I just didn't want to put my name a lot in the book.
So I'll just read this because it's short. There are three things that are very important to me. One is that I want to preach to the preachers. And I think we just heard about that from Bhagavat Maharaj, how he grabbed him, made that point. It causes me so much pain to see the devotees falling down and going away. The second thing is that I want to show how everything is in Prabhupada's books. Those persons who are saying that Srila Prabhupada only gave ABC, it causes me so much pain in my heart. I want to make them silent. And the third thing is that I want to show how everything is in ISKCON and that devotees do not have to go elsewhere for higher teachings. So I was thinking about this, and now I need to beg your forgiveness. Since you labeled me a scholar, I have to say something scholarly, but from the mundane scholarly scholarship. And it's the kind of thing which I look for to see how Vaishnavas can make, let me call it, intellectual connections with contemporary thought. So one person I've been particularly struck by is a social psychologist who has done empirical research to identify what he refers to as 6 moral foundations of political life. And why I want to mention this, first of all, very broadly speaking, in this scholars of religion, because I studied religion, they're fond of saying that religion and politics are 2 sides of the same coin. But you can't separate them. They're interconnected. Okay, so thinking about moral foundations of politics, he came up through extensive research. Empirical research means interviewing people and seeing what they consider important? What are the values they consider important? He came up with 6, and I'll just go through these briefly. The first is care. People put value on the notion of people need to be cared for. Second, fairness. Third, liberty. Fourth, loyalty. Fifth, authority. And finally, sanctity. So what I just wanted to point out is what struck me is that 3 of these I find to be indicated by these 3 purposes, if you like, these 3 things that Srila Gorgonvindamaraj was concerned about, identified with these. So the first of these, he says, I want to preach to the preachers. Why does he want to preach to the preachers? Well, we heard from Bhagavat Maharaj that this was Srila Prabhupada's desire, his order. Yes, and I would say it was his care. He had a genuine care for these preachers. He had a care for the Vaishnavas, and so he wanted to help them. And the best way to help them was to preach to them, which, of course, we all know he did so vigorously. And in his preaching, he was bringing depth to their understanding of Krishna consciousness, where previously there was perhaps a certain superficial understanding. He brought them a depth of understanding which allowed them to recover and clarify their faith. And then his concern, the second purpose was to establish that everything is in Srila Prabhupada's books. And I see this in relation to the principle of sanctity. He saw in Srila Prabhupada's books, these are sacred books. And as such, they are, their message and their content is complete. But beyond that, by his concern to make this demonstration that everything is in Prabhupada's books, what he was doing is showing the way to deeper reading, to deeper comprehension of the words in Srila Prabhupada's books, going beyond, again, beyond the surface to the depth of what Srila Prabhupada was communicating in his books. So I see that as an embodiment, if you like, of this principle of a moral foundation. What to speak of transcendental, but just speaking of morality, he is showing the sanctity of Srila Prabhupada's books. And then the third concern he had was to show how everything is in ISKCON. And here I want to link this to the principle of loyalty, but not superficial loyalty, the sense that, well, I'm loyal just for the sake of loyalty, but something much deeper than that. He wanted to show that the Sangha is the essence of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. And to stay in ISKCON, how to stay in ISKCON is to deepen the Sangha, to comprehend what it means to have Vaishnava Sangha. And of course, what amazes me, I think, in a sense, that Srila Gorgonvindamaraj took these three purposes, is that in some sense, his consciousness was so much bigger, so much beyond anything that, practically any of us could comprehend. And yet he was humbling himself to make these purposes a reality. I always had this feeling when I would see Gorgonvindamaraj in Mayapur that he's in a different category. And sometimes I was involved in GBC meetings back in those days as a minister for deity worship, and I would see Maharaj and I would feel like, yeah, how is it that he is here? He's in a different universe. So these are just 3 of these 6 principles, and I think other devotees, yourself, not least Madhavananda Prabhu, could fill out examples of how Gorgonvindamaraj demonstrated these other 3 principles: fairness, liberty, and authority. But I want to keep it short and leave it at that. We do have Srila Jayapataka Swami Maharaj with us waiting.
I just like to make one real brief comment about how he wanted to show everything was an ISKCON. Sometimes we misunderstand that, and I can't exactly say that I understand it. It was definitely a deep comment that he made. He used to say, "What is ISKCON?" And he would say, "The International Society for Krishna Consciousness." And he would say, "Who's a member?" And he would answer the question himself, "Someone who's Krishna conscious." And once in public, he did like that, and he pointed at me, and he said, "Madhavananda, not yet joined." So when people ask me when I'm going to join, I say, well, I would like to someday. And I see his statements about that not to be something sectarian and hateful as sometimes
Right.
devotees unfortunately interpret it, which you definitely didn't. But
Yeah.
he was very friendly with many different sadhus, many different devotees and different
Oh, yeah.
things. They would come to see him. Sometimes he would visit them on Padayatra and things.
Yeah.
But he was teaching that we should be faithful to the Seva Sangha of our Gurudev, of Srila Prabhupada. So I also don't want to go any further. I'm really eager to hear from Jayapataka Maharaj. I'm sorry we had such a short time for you, Maharaj.
No, not at all.
Today. You have so much
Thank
to
you.
offer. Thank you very much. And we're keeping your room downstairs, Maharaj, here in Puri. So we're waiting for you.
Okay.
Please come and visit.
I'll teleport over.
We would love that. It's very nice and quiet. Right now, the kusha grass is blossoming.
Actually, if you'll allow me, at some point, I'm going to pester you in the next couple of days to ask you when you and I could have a talk for a few minutes, because I have something I want to share with you and get your input on. So I hope in the
next few days are good for me.
Okay.
Thank you very much. I want to turn now to Srila Jayapataka Maharaj. We're very fortunate that he's here tonight with us. I was hoping so much, Jayapataka Maharaj, that you could take part, but I thought it's not possible. You're such an important person. You have so many people wanting. You have tens of thousands of disciples, and we asked you in such short notice. So I'm very, very grateful for you coming tonight. And I know you also had a lot of association with our Gour Maharaj. Just before you say something, Maharaj, I'd like to show a photograph if I can. I think actually I took this picture, as I recall, because I remember, I think this was in 1994 or 1995. It's in here in the Bhubaneswar temple, and it's yourself with our Gour Maharaj. I think this is 1994, a little after Gour Maharaj came back from his tour in Europe. I was with him that time. So anyway, I'll stop there, and I just really want to express my gratitude to Jayapataka Maharaj so much for taking part in this program tonight. Thank you, Maharaj.
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale
Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami
Iti Namine
Namaste Saraswati Devi
Gauravani Pracharine
Nirvisheshasanalari
Paschatya Deshatarine
Anchakal Vataro Vyasa Viva Siddhaleva Cha Patitanava Vaishnavevya Namo Kakaroti Vajalam
Angum Langayate Girim
Yakivatavan Mane
Shri Gurum Dinatarinam
Paramanandavaram
Shri Chaitanyamishwaram
Hari Om Tat Sat. I was very fortunate to be blessed by the association of His Holiness Govinda Swami.
I was very fortunate to be blessed by the association of His Holiness Gour Govinda Swami.
First, when now you go to Bhubaneswar, and it's a very developed place
Now, if you go to Bhubaneswar, it's a very developed place
around our temple.
around our temple.
But when Gorgonvindamaraj was there, Prabhupada was there, there was only a Vajan Kutir and a room of Prabhupada.
When Gorgonvindamaraj was there, when Srila Prabhupada was there was only a bhajan kutir and a room of Srila Prabhupada.
So His Holiness Govinda Swami stayed in this grass hut,
So His Holiness Gour Govinda Goswami Maharaj stayed in this grass hut
where his Samadhi Murti is now.
where his Samadhi Murti is now.
And we were staying in the field.
And we were staying in the field.
As far as you could see, there's only field.
As far you could see, there was only field.
And if we sat too long in one place, the termites would eat our cloth.
If we sat too long in one place, the termite would eat our cloths.
So we had to shift.
So we had to shift.
So now you see it's all developed, temple and ashram, everything.
Now you see a so developed temple and ashram and everything.
All around you see colleges, hospitals, everything.
All around you see colleges, hospitals, everything.
When Govinda started, and nothing there.
When Gour Govinda Maharaj started, there was nothing there.
And the wife of the land was the name of the wife of the governor.
And the land was under the name of the wife of the governor.
And she gave the land to ISKCON.
And she gave the land to ISKCON.
So Prabhupada stayed there. I think he started the 9th canto translation there.
When Prabhupada stayed there, I think he started the 9th canto translation of the Srimad
And
Bhagavatam.
I was, I think, the last GBC appointed by Prabhupada.
I think I was the last GBC appointed by Srila Prabhupada.
And he gave me, I have a zone, Orissa and Bengal.
And he gave me the zones Orissa and Bengal.
So I was not surrendered.
I was not as surrendered.
I mean, I was staying in the guest house,
I was staying in the guest house,
multi-story building.
multi-storied building.
And when Gorgonvindamaraj, he always stayed in the same grass hut.
But Gour Govinda Maharaj, he always stayed in the same grass hut.
And he was very kind to me.
And he was very kind to me.
And I don't know if I committed any offenses to him.
I don't know whether if I committed any offenses to him.
Gradually, I realized that he was a very advanced devotee,
But gradually, I realized that he was a very advanced devotee,
and he had realizations which are very significant.
He had realizations which are very significant.
And the relationship he had with his deity
The relationship he had with the deities
in his village,
in his village,
where Chaitanya Chandra is at present,
where Chaitanya Chandra Prabhu is at present.
all these things were in his character.
All these things were in his character.
And he would deliver lectures, which were, because I know Bengali, I understand most of Oriya,
Because I know Bengali, I understand most of Odia.
although I don't speak much,
Although I don't speak much,
but Gorgonvindamaraj, he gives very dynamic lectures.
but Gorgonvindamaraj, he gave very dynamic lectures.
And at the same time, very simple, very honest,
At the same time, he was very simple, very honest.
and he actually he translated all the Bhagavatam texts, Gita, into Oriya.
Actually, he translated all the Bhagavatam sites, Gita, into Odia.
That was a huge sacrifice.
That was a huge sacrifice.
And I think we're all grateful for his contribution.
I think we all are grateful to him for his contributions.
But sometimes it seems he wasn't understood.
Sometimes it seems that he wasn't understood.
He would speak very frankly,
That he would speak very
frankly. And so I don't think that everyone can understand.
I don't think that everyone could understand.
At some point, I was invited in Sri Lanka.
At some point, I was invited in Sri Lanka.
After reaching there, and I heard that I was invited by Govindamaraj to attend the program Padayatra in Orissa.
After reaching there, I heard that I was invited by Gorgonvindamaraj to attend the Padayatra in Orissa.
So he was somewhat upset with me, I think. I didn't come to his program.
He was somewhat upset with me, I think, that I didn't come for his program.
I didn't know it in time.
But I didn't know on time.
Like that, being his, at that time I was his GBC Zone Secretary,
At that time, I was his GBC Zonal Secretary.
and Prabhupada had asked different people to help him,
And Prabhupada had asked different people to help him,
like Tejas Das,
like Tejas Das,
Bhagavad Das,
Bhagavad Das.
and so Prabhupada gave him that he would have a matching grant. Any money collected, because he considered Orissa a poor state, and any money he collected, Prabhupada would match it.
So Prabhupada gave him a matching grant. Any money, because Orissa was a poor state, any money that Prabhupada collected, he would give them first. Gave it
And
first.
as I said, he's very kind to me. And when the temple was finished,
As I said, he was very kind to me when the temple was finished.
and Nitai Gour and Krishna Balaram, Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Sudarshan Chakra were installed.
And Nitai Gaur, Krishna Balaram, Jagannath Baldev Subhadra Sudarshan Chakra were installed.
He wanted me, I did the Pran Pratishtha along with him.
I did the Pran Pratishtha along with him.
So he also had a Siddha Temple Radha Krishna constructed.
He also had a simple temple of Radha Krishna constructed.
So I don't know what to say. He was definitely empowered.
I don't know what to say, but he was definitely empowered.
He was talking about his Gopal deity
He was talking about his Gopal deity,
and Mayapur. And then all of a sudden, he was like talking about Gopal deity, he was crying and he left.
here in Mayapur, all of a sudden he was talking about his Gopal deity and crying, and suddenly he left.
So, being completely focused on Krishna,
Being completely focused on Krishna,
he left
he left
this world.
this world.
So he was definitely, I feel very blessed to have had his association.
I feel very blessed that I had his association.
I wish I could have served him more.
I wish I could have served him more.
And I tried to serve him,
I tried to serve him.
facilitate his. See, he was completely dedicated to build this temple for Srila Prabhupada.
He was completely dedicated to build this temple to Srila Prabhupada.
And then, so this temple was created exactly what Prabhupada had said.
This temple was created as exactly what Prabhupada said.
Prabhupada said to make the Oriya design of Krishna Balaram Nitai Gaur.
And Prabhupada said, make the Odia design of Krishna Balaram and Nitai Gaur.
So they had recent artisans make these 8 metal deities.
They had these Orion artisans to make these 8 metal deities.
And he was completely focused on pleasing Srila Prabhupada.
And he was completely focused on pleasing Srila Prabhupada.
And so I remember when he went to Vrindavan
I remember when he went to Vrindavan,
and Prabhupada called him in and engaged him.
Prabhupada called him in and engaged him.
And then he dedicated his life to serving Prabhupada.
And he dedicated his life to serving Srila Prabhupada.
We're all blessed by his presence on the world.
So we all are blessed by his presence on this world.
And just think how humble. I didn't think about it. My spontaneous realizations.
It is just an humble homage. I didn't think about it. It's just a spontaneous realization.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Maharaj. I really appreciate you taking your time and joining us tonight. I have another picture I'd like to share. Somebody just pointed out that the picture behind you, I don't know if it's this particular one I'm showing right now or at least one from that series. And I just wanted to show this to the devotees here. This was 1974. And Mayapur, please correct me, Maharaj. And we see you on the left side here. And Prabhupada, I think this is Paramahansa Swami behind Prabhupada, and then Gopal Krishna Maharaj and Brahmananda Prabhu, and our Gour Maharaj here on the far right.
That's Gorgonvindamaraj Ragnar.
No, this is Gorgonvindamaraj Srila Guru Maharaj.
Ah,
Yes, you and different.
I have,
Prabhupada would go on a morning walk.
Prabhupada would go on the morning walk.
I wasn't focused on so much of people walking with Prabhupada.
I was focused. So much people were walking on with Srila Prabhupada.
I had to focus on Prabhupada asked me to guide.
I had to focus if Prabhupada had asked me to guide.
That's interesting.
That's interesting.
I go on around that.
And Gorgonvindamaraj is there at back. Jai, Srila Gorgonvindamaraj ki jai.
thank you so much. We have a big copy of this photo in our ashram here on the wall. I look at it every day, and I remember yourself and Srila Prabhupada and the devotees in Mayapur. Thank you so much for coming and taking part with us and for encouraging us so much over the years. We owe so much to you. The older devotees have done so much for the Bhubaneswar temple, and so many things you've done.
Thank you. I'm supposed to give a Chaitanya class now.
Thank you. I'm supposed to give a Chaitanya Leela class now.
Yes, we'll let you go, Maharaj. Thank you very much for taking your time. I'm very, very grateful. Krishna.
I will
Hari Bol.
always go to Swami.
All glories to Srila Gaur Govinda Swami.
Always all the Krishna Chatra Swami and all the Vaishnavas are present.
All glories to His Holiness Krishna Kshetra Swami and all the other Vaishnavas who are present.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Srila Jai Pataka Maharaj ki Jai Ho.
Jai.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Maharaj. So we're ready to finish our session. We're even 5 minutes a little late, but I also see that we have a number of devotees here online who may have some wonderful things they could offer. I don't want to go really, really late, but if Raghava Pandit Prabhu, your health is okay, Prabhuji? You feeling okay today? Putting on the spot. I'm sorry. If you wanted to say anything, we'd be really grateful. Or Anupam Prabhu or Krishna Chaitra Maharaj, if you want to comment anything that Jai Pataka Maharaj said, or make some other comments or anything, we'd really love to hear from everybody. I'd love to have some discussion. Okay, well, let me do this. I have something I'd like to play. There's a saying from Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, famous saying. He says, Mother Yena Samarpayat, that we should finish with something sweet. So I have something very sweet here. And this is some words from our Guru Maharaj about the subject of Vaishnava Aparad. Very sober topic, but I wanted to finish this with some hearing his transcendental voice and seeing his beautiful form. So please, this is only about 3 minutes, 2 minutes. Oops, I'll start it again.
Speaking ill of the Vaishnava, blaspheming the Vaishnava, everything is lost. If you have gotten anything, it's all destroyed. You have lost. Now, you are lose everything. In education, in tapasya, reaching your goal, meet Vaishnava, you lose everything. You have to say, don't come to Vaishnava. of the law. All are superior to it. All are superior to it. All are Vaishnavas. But I'm not Vaishnava. All are Vaishnavas. Right of the law, who is to be made number 1, 2, and like that. And my name will come at last. Nobody belongs. The body is this is everything. Now, see, this is the teaching. Wow. This devotee is a teacher. You cannot do anything. You cannot get the mercy of the Vaishnava. You cannot. It's your simple perfection. You understand?
Okay, so we'll go ahead and finish there. I pray to all the devotees that I can keep that look on Guru Maharaj's face, that scowl, when he spoke about, when he said, you'll lose everything by offending the Vaishnavas. And I pray that we don't ever offend the Vaishnavas. We respect everyone. And we're very, very fortunate. I'd like to welcome all the devotees who come to programs like this. And sometimes in today's world, there's different devotees and different sanghas. And sometimes some devotees make a big issue out of that. Personally, when I see someone come from a different sangha, I feel great happiness because it's an opportunity to be a good host and to be friends with people and learn something from somebody who belongs to a different sangha than myself. And similarly, we have this program. And if everybody had the same understanding exactly that I have of our Guru Maharaj, it wouldn't be the same. Everybody has their own different realizations, their own different perspectives. And I so much value hearing from everyone so that we can enter a little bit into their heart and a little bit of their realization of this wonderful, amazing personality. So again, thank everybody very much. And Raghava Prabhu Anupam, Brajabani to different Krishna Chaitanya Maharaj, please bless us that we can serve Guru Maharaj and someday we can become a genuine disciple. Thank you so much for taking part in this program. It means a lot to us. I hope we can do this more often. This program, they asked me to do this about 4 days ago or something. I was a bit shocked. It usually takes me, I'd like to have 2 months to organize something like this nicely. But they're simple devotees in Bhubaneswar. They don't know. So I still took it on myself. But Raghava, do you want to just add a couple words? I just saw your comment here.
Sorry, Bob.
Hare Krishna. You want to add a few words here?
Oh, I don't mind.
Prabhuji.
Yeah, I don't know what's Hare Krishna. I didn't really meant to come in here. I just saw the link. I clicked on it. I was very happy to fill my ears and heart with all the nectarian glorifications and anecdotes and philosophy. And also thank you for organizing it. And sorry for me again, just being absent. Or I thought I exhausted all the excuses and then I got another excuse. But Krishna always somehow, Gurudev always somehow pulls me back. It's impossible. It's a bit like hot sugar cane. It's so hot to swallow, but it's too sweet to spit out. So, but Vanchakalpaturvasya Kripasinabhya Sapatitaram Bhavanebi Vaishnavibhya Namo Namaha. Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Smriti Gorgonvindamaraj Swami Namo. I'm speaking mainly some few words like flowers I can offer from my heart at the lotus feet of our, for Siva Gurudev, and also to please the Vaishnava and to honor the Vaishnava's requests, especially Madhavananda Prabhu, who's always trying so hard to, to keep me in line, or to keep me my seva to Gurudev. So I'm grateful, although I don't sound it always, but that's just the nature of this Atma, this covering. But I just want to say how Guru Maharaj is even although we try so much our best to, fulfill our own program or to think that we know better, or I don't know what it is, but I can only say, like, in my practical life, that's all I have. I'm not a big preacher. I'm not a big philosopher. I'm not really much of anything. And just trying to live my life here and have my Guru Maharaj somehow play a central role in that. Like, I never really felt like I joined the mission. I just, I saw Guru Maharaj and I was attracted, and I tried to, develop the qualities to make myself a truly fit disciple, which, I don't know, in this lifetime, I kind of feel like, I don't know if it's still going to happen, but I just prayed. I love my Guru Maharaj. I was fortunate to share some anecdotes with Kishore and Sudevi yesterday, and it was basically, my conclusion is that, yes, I do love Guru Maharaj, and it sounds like maybe like a sentimental expression, all these things, but in all these years, it occupies the most important place in my heart, and I experience that every single day. Like his mysticism, or his mystic qualities that I can sense, that I can feel. I've been in hospital in the last, months, in and out, and undergoing some like very severe procedures, but I never really felt like one moment of worry or anxiety. And sometimes we're put in these situations, no matter what they are. Somebody may lose $1 million, or may lose their heart, or may lose their wife or husband, and suddenly we're being put in this like prayerful situation when we have to cry out to Krishna, not to save this bag, but basically like, oh Gurudev, I'm so forgetful, I'm so stubborn, I'm so like determined to not surrender, but he's there for you, and I always have this one sort of saving grace, this one little hook that if in any moment in this life, if there was a fleeting second when I truly from my heart uttered, oh Gurudev, I'm yours and you're mine, like I pray that Gurudev, please remember me in that moment. Please don't forget me. I tried. I know I'm hopeless, but guess what? I mean, that's that's this world. I'm not looking for an excuse or looking for, and sorry that I'm just rambling on. Like I said, I'm not much of a philosopher, but I share my own experience with my Guru Maharaj, that I share with people that I meet as well, that aren't devotees, that aren't people that are in the front lines of Mahaprabhu's movement, etc. But Guru Maharaj is the most amazing person that ever existed, in my view, in my personal experience, in my, he touched my life, and I'm eternally grateful for that. Every day I tell my wife, like, so fortunate to have had the ability with these own eyes, these covered eyes, to see Guru Maharaj, how he eats, how he walks, how he sleeps, how he interacts with disciples, with guests, with God brothers and God family, and to be able to see that with one's own eyes is the perfection of one's eyes. And I may not have seen him as in like properly seen, there's lots of people like to have discussions about what that would be, in what sort of form. Like, I can't even go there. Like, that's not at all where my mind, lives. Like, I'm just grateful for that, which I can, I can share with others, that, and also to be able to ask a question. If you have, like right now, we may have arguments or debates about certain philosophical things, and it's hard because, we're not him. Well, at least I'm not, and I can't assume that no one else is, but what if your Guru is right there in this forum, that he has taken, especially to teach us, to show us by example, and to explain to us, these, like what you just showed, that video about being so humble, and about being at the very bottom of that entire list, starting from Lord Brahma, like how, this humility is something that he embodied, that he, that was not just something you say. I could say that. I could say, oh, I'm so fallen, and I will, but I'm not realizing that. I'm not free from that ego, from that, oh, the moment you, the moment you point something at me, I'll get back, or we'll have an argument. But like when Guru Maharaj is the embodiment of that humility, it becomes real. The book, the Shastra, the passive Bhagavat becomes a living Bhagavat, and it leaves an impression in our minds forever. And for that, I'm very grateful. Even although I was a little boy, I think you sent me a picture earlier, Madhavananda Prabhu, and I shared it on my Facebook yesterday too. I think I was 21 or 22 at that age. I can't really figure it out. Somewhere else it says 94, but it's impossible because we're wearing white. And in 92, I got initiated and was wearing saffron. But just to be there, just to have been there, and to have been allowed to be in this company, in this association. What to speak of, like offering a little service. I'm not saying what I did was like considered on the service level, like my mind and the quality of my heart and consciousness, and in most likeliness, I was always looking for some praise or recognition or some sort of mention, or I don't know what, like, we're not pure. I'm not pure. So, but we still need to do it for our own purification, for the pleasure of our Guru Maharaj. And if we do it, even if there's a sliver of bhakti in there, or like even something, I don't know, I can't see it, but Gurudev can see it. And I depend on that kindness, on that mercy. He's the most merciful. I know he is. And I always feel bad that, that we're not all like, seeing eye to eye in that sense that, like it just seems to be inherent in the Gaudiya Vaishnava community that wherever you go, there's and someone told me it's impossible for two lions to live inside one cage. So therefore, they start their own cage or sangha, or I don't know what it is. I'm not a philosopher, but I do regret. I love to be with devotees. I love kirtan. I love Mahaprasadam. I love listening to Harikatha, and it comes in so many flavors. And it's definitely a sadness of my heart to see the division and the misunderstandings often, but that's just the nature, I guess. Like one thing, and I'll wrap this up, and thank you so much. And again, my apologies for not really giving you the whole, like, the Guru Tattva and giving you the shlokas from various things. Excuse me. That's just me. But the reason why we always have to fight or debate, it's just to keep our minds sharp. Because if you said something philosophical, that's not really like, oh well, hold on. So then I'll get my Shastra out, or get my whatever Veda base or this, and then I'll look it up. And so it keeps our minds engaged. Otherwise, what else would we be doing all day? Like, I'm just talking for myself. So I think that there's something good about it. I just wish that sometimes it was done a little more civilized way, so we don't call each other names. So what Guru Maharaj was saying in the video you just shared, just really be careful about offending Vaishnavas. And guess what? And this is also one of my hopes, that my little straw that I hold on to, like what we hear from Guru Maharaj and some of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur and so many Vaishnavas, that even a dog who has been in the vicinity of our Gurudev, of the sadhus, is worthy of our respect, is worthy of our worship, maybe even, I don't know, let alone like those who came. There's many people that have come, that have gone, but they're all like super lucky to have had that opportunity, whether they, took full advantage of it or not. But they're our friends. They're our brothers and sisters. And so for that, I'm sad, that we can't always be on the same page. We don't have to agree. I don't care. Honestly, that's why I'm not much of a philosopher. I'd rather talk about things that I know something about, like Prasadam and Kirtan. I love all that. And that's how we unite on these things. And philosophically, I have my own concept, my own understanding that I've developed from hearing, and not saying it's right. I can't, pretend to know much, but it keeps me going. And for that, I'm grateful. I'm grateful for your friendship, Madhavananda. Forgive me for all my, like giving you hell, but I know you're very kind and very patient. And like, it's amazing. Like, how can you have so much, like, how can you just keep, like, never give up hope on me? I don't know what it is, but thank you. So thanks everybody for giving me a moment to glorify our Guru Maharaj. And again, thank you so much for your patience. One day I'll get it together. Hopefully, I'm praying for that. I pray to my Guru Maharaj, I pray to Srila Prabhupada, Sadhu Guru Vaishnavas to be merciful unto me. Forgive my offenses. Please see the good, if there is any. And yeah, Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranams.
Hare Krishna.
Thank
Thank you, Raghava. Can I show you a picture of why I tolerate you always? This is why.
Oh wow, that's actually a loaded picture. I can tell you that.
It is a very loaded picture, actually.
This is a loaded picture. I
It's
just
very
talked
much
about it.
like what you said. You know, we have 3 different planets around Guru Maharaj.
Yeah. Yeah. No, this is a loaded picture with the book that I'm holding.
Which book is that?
Oh, can I tell the story if you don't mind?
Please.
So, so this is actually at one of the tours at Guru Maharaj. He gets up, he has his rest or his seva, and at like 4 or 5, 6 o'clock or so, he goes and walks around the Goshala and the Tulsi garden and the temple and the restaurant, and he's talking to the devotees how everything is going. And so daily we would try to be there in time and just walk with them and ask questions if there are any, or just be with Guru Maharaj. It doesn't really matter if you have questions or not. So let's say a couple of hours before this happened, I was in the Brahmachari ashram, like on the 2nd, 3rd floor of the temple guest house. And I had this green book sitting on my bed, and one of my dear godbrothers, who shall not be mentioned. No, we all know Raghunath Bhatta Prabhu is a lovely, godbrother, always looking after us. He says, oh, Guru Maharaj would not approve of that. That's not okay. This green book is called The Loving Search for the Lost Servant by Srila Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada's godbrother. And I'm literally like 23 or so, 22, 23 in this picture. And I don't know anything about all this friction or the breakup of all the I don't know. I just really, I wasn't even like I came to the temple. I went to Vrindavan. I saw Guru Maharaj. I came to Bhubaneswar. In short, that's how it went. I wasn't really exposed to like all the stories and the politics and all that, So somebody gave me this book, and I put the book on my bed because I was reading it because I loved it. And then someone told me, well, that's not okay to read. That's like, Guru Maharaj would not approve of that. That's what I mean by our good fortune. Because right now we would be arguing day and night, but Guru Maharaj is there, so I can ask him. So I thought, well, you know what? I'll bring this book with me and I'll ask Guru Maharaj, right? Just to make sure that we're like talking the same language here. And I said, Guru Maharaj, and Dayanti Sri, who's doing the newsletter and the daily quotes and all that with their family, like every day, she sent me this, and she also had no idea. So I shared the story with her as well. I said, because I mentioned this story so many times, she just sent it to me 2 years ago. I have talked about the story so many times, but I didn't have a picture to back it up. So if there's no picture or video, it doesn't exist. So I got this picture. It's like, oh my God. So I asked Guru Maharaj, I said, Guru Maharaj, besides, I love Srila Prabhupada's books and all this. I said, someone gave me this book by Srila Prabhupada's godbrother, and someone else told me earlier today that I should not read it, that it would not be, that you would not approve of it. He said, what is it? I said, it's The Loving Search of the Lost Servant by Srila Maharaj, Bhakti Rakshak Srila Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada's godbrother. He said, no, he says, you should read. Why not? Prabhupada said you should read. You should read. He told me that like very firmly. So I was like, okay, all like everything is settled from here on. Like you could jump up and down and make all the claims in the world, and it's fine with me. And I don't blame you for that if you think so. But for myself, I have not even a sliver of doubt. So don't put your doubt in my head. So I and still I love to read his books, and so giving me a lot of strength and inspiration. So here we go. So thanks for sharing.
Thank you so much for coming. I have another one too. You saw this one today, but the other devotees haven't seen this. And as one songwriter once said, when I was growing up, every picture tells a story. So let's see here. Let me share this one. This is in Bali in 1995.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe it was just a day or two before I came. I was, or maybe I'm behind somewhere. I don't know. But you see, Tapasri Ananta Prabhu, now Tapasri Maharaj, that was Guru Maharaj's servant that year there, and Raghava is just behind him. And as I commented, I posted this picture on Facebook. And I commented that if Raghava in this picture, if he smiles anymore, his face is going to break.
Yeah.
It was such a very, very happy time.
Yeah.
And when we're in such association with people who are really beyond the modes of nature, then we can also get a little bit of that. We can come a little close to that. And all of our differences that you're commenting about, they go away.
Yeah.
Anyway, for those devotees who don't know, I just want to show a picture here and just express my appreciation to you, Raghava, and all the devotees. This is the last book that was made of Guru Maharaj's before he left this world. Actually, it was printed after he left, but the editing and things went on with Guru Maharaj, and Raghava and Prem Prayojan Prabhu put this together. This is the Embankment of Separation. And we've reprinted it in a number of different incarnations. This is two of the incarnations here. But Raghava did this original one, which is so beautiful, with so many deluxe pictures and things. And anyway, and just Raghava started Gopalji Publications, and somehow over the years that service has come to me. I've been trying to do it, but I always bow my head because it really belongs to Raghava Pandit, and it was just his service. My service was a magazine. But we were trying to work something on the new edition of Embankment of Separation, and I'm really excited about that. Not right now. You have some health issues, I know, but I just want to just express my appreciation and excitement about this book coming up. We have some really fantastic pictures. We have 3 new chapters coming up in this, and it's going to be really spectacular. So,
Thank you.
Thank you, Raghava. I mean, it really means a lot for me to have you here tonight with us. Can I just show one last little video of Guru Maharaj again? This is one of the ones that the devotees in Pattamandai, Haladar Maharaj's associates, have been putting together. And this is a 4-minute and 38-second video. We can finish with this. I just like to finish with something from Guru Maharaj. They titled this, Develop Greed for Sadhu Sangha. And there's this is not a video, this is just an audio recording that they put a bunch of pictures to explain a little bit the Gaur Thai deities you'll see. Those are the deities from one of the Bhubaneswar bus parties, traveling Sankirtan bus parties that Haladar Maharaj used to travel with, and now they're in Pattamandai. And the Radha Krishna deities that you'll see are Sri Sri Radha Madhav, who were originally worshipped by Thakur Bhaktivinoda and his family for generations before Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So we just like to hear a little something from Guru Maharaj before we finish. Let's see. Whoops.
Supreme Lord has greed, has some greed. Do you understand? Do you know greed? Lower. He has greed. That's wonderful greed. That's not material greed. Do you understand? Your material greed is your enemy. Kama, Krodha, Loha. Eto prem tejet. Swayam Kasya Dwara. Isn't it? Gita. You know, but Gita Krishna says, give up these 3. Kama, Krodha, Loha. Love, greed, anger. These are the enemies. If you will capture like 3 enemies, these 3 enemies, then they will drag you to the hell. Swayam Kasya Dwara. They are door to the hell. Give up this 3. You understand? But greed of the Lord is there. Lord has greed. You understand? And this greed is also utilized in service of the Lord. You understand? Yes. You should utilize this greed for the service of the Lord. How can you utilize this greed? That is service of the Lord. Huh? How can you? Huh? The price is greed, but material greed should be given up. But this greed should be utilized for Krishna service. How will it be? How will it be utilized? Develop greed. Sadhu sange Krishna ko bhai matlo sai. संसार जिनित्यार कौन वस्तु नहीं डेवलप ग्रीड for साधु संग and here Krishna katha that is the greed to be developed. You understand? साधु संगे कृष्ण कथा यही मत होता है संसार जिनित्यार कौन वस्तु नहीं. One should give up this greed of sadhu sanga. How can I have sadhu sanga more and more and here Krishna Katha nectarian, Krishna Katha from his lips, more and more. There is no satisfaction in it. You understand? No satisfaction or trupti. Because it's nectar. The more you take, the more you hanker after it. No satisfaction. You understand? And once you develop this greed, then you'll be able to conquer this Maya. Sansara Dimitar Kol Vastunai. No other thing is there to conquer this illusory world or illusion. Only to have sadhu sangha and hear Krishna Katha, nectarian Krishna Katha from his lips. Once you develop greed for it, you should be greedy enough. You understand? Yes, this is the utilization of greed, the service of Krishna. Krishna has greed, therefore we have greed. Supreme Lord has greed, therefore we have greed. But Krishna has something we have. Because we are eternal part and parcel of this Supreme Lord. Isn't it? Manivansha Jiva Loki, Jiva Bhutta Sanatana. Eternally we are part and parcel. Supreme Lord, what Supreme Lord has, we have. He has greed, that we have greed. But that greed should be utilized for the service of good level. Alright, very good. You make advancement in the spiritual path, you understand? And if you misuse it, abuse it, and develop material greed, then you will drag to the hell. You understand? You understand?
So we have to develop that greed, and we have to have greed to associate with devotees who have love for those personalities who've helped us in our spiritual life. Two last little pictures that say it all. This is 1995 on Nityananda Trayodasi. You see Jagadish Pandit and Ashram Maharaj back here, and I think this is my head right here, and maybe Murli Krishna here, and
I think it's Ashram Maharaj.
Ashram Maharaj right here, yeah.
No. I'm pretty sure that's a kirtan devotee from Atlanta, I think.
Yeah, I can't remember his name. You're right, probably is. And here's Mathuranath over here on the left. This is such a very, very special, sacred time. I know for Raghava and for all of us who are there. One last picture, which I just came across recently. It's not, it's a little too bright, but I think it says a lot. This was our Sangha. You see Rasikananda and Jagadish and Jani Vijiva and Leela Avatar Prabhu and so many different devotees. Everybody was so focused on Guru Maharaj. And what do we want to be focused on? We don't want to just be focused just on his body or even on his stories, but we want to be focused on what he came to give. And that was Sadhu Sangha, Krishna Katha, Nam Kirtan. And if we do those things, he assured us that we'll always be associating with him. So thank you again, Raghava Prabhu, and all the devotees who are taking part in this. It really helps me a lot. It really nourishes me a lot. You spoke a lot of humble words today, Raghava Prabhu, but I was thinking all of these things you're saying, they could apply for me. I'm just hoping in some future life I can become an actual proper disciple. But in the meantime, we just do whatever we can. And these kind of sanghas are so good. As you were saying, it's difficult to get along with people. But when we come together like this, we have something in common. And we can do some service together. We can render some service together for Guru Maharaj, and there's real unity. And for that, we have to put aside other things. Prabhupada, Bhagavat Maharaj is speaking about how Prabhupada called him into his room. And Gour Maharaj spoke about that sometimes, although he wouldn't tell us so many details. But when Prabhupada was in Bhubaneswar for 17 days, I remember Gour Maharaj speaking a little bit about that once, and he said that Prabhupada called him in once, and Prabhupada pointed outside to all the devotees who are out there, mostly Western devotees, and Prabhupada told him, he said, they all have problems, and they will not stay, but I want you to stay. You don't go. And then Prabhupada told him, you tolerate, 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 cooperate. we made a poster of that. Gour Maharaj is remembering that here in our ashram, just to help to remind us. And it's not such an easy thing to do. But when we come together and we hear something about such a personality, and we think such an amazing opportunity to render service to him, it really inspires me. And thank you, Raghav. Again, I somebody mentioned something about making an expanded edition of, let me hold this up, I'm a book publisher. When good fortune arises. We're thinking about that. I'd like to add more. Actually, we have a donor, even a sponsor, one sannyasi, godbrother of Gour Maharaj, who volunteered to give some large donation to help print it. But it's a lot of work. I want to do it really nicely. We want to add more pictures and more stories and remembrances and things like that. So I hope all of
I have
you.
a few stories to add.
Okay, good. We'll
Yeah.
have to hear that from you, Prabhuji. I want that. Tapasvi Maharaj had some wonderful stories. I don't know if you saw that session we had with him yesterday. It was really, really good. Really sweet. Okay, so we'll finish here. I don't want to finish. I'd like to just keep going. Thank you all very much. And Raghava Prabhu. Srila Gurudeva ki jai. Srila Prabhupada Maharaj ki jai. Samaveda Bhakta Binda ki jai. Vancha kalpadaru bishcha kripa sindhu bhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Nandakoti Vaishnava Binda ki jai.